Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They unleashed chaos, but humans turned it into a war of retribution. Commander VX Thrawn stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Alliance flagship, Inevitable Dominance, watching the blue-green planet rotating slowly on the main view screen. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of dismissive boredom among the ZTH carry species. So this is Earth? Hardly impressive, he muttered, mandibles clicking slightly as he spoke. Reports indicate these humans have only achieved interplanetary travel within their own system. No quantum drives, no neural networks, not even basic gravitational manipulation. Science officer Nix Pelverin tapped her data pad, bringing up holographic displays of human cities, transportation systems, and military installations. That is correct, Commander. Their technology is quaint. They still use combustion engines for most transportation, and their computational systems are primitive. Ha! They're still using silicon for processing. Lieutenant Krell barked from his station, his laughter echoing around the command center. My first educational toy had more computing power than their entire planet. The bridge crew joined in the laughter, creating a chorus of clicks, whistles, and rumbling sounds that represented amusement across the diverse species of the Alliance. Commander VX raised a clawed hand for silence. Nevertheless, the Galactic Council has marked this system for resource extraction. These humans occupy a planet with substantial quantities of liquid water, rare minerals, and biological diversity. The Science Division believes human physiology might present some interesting research opportunities as well. Their physical attributes are unremarkable, Nix continued, scrolling through biological data. No natural armor, minimal muscle density compared to ZTH carry standards, slow reflexes, poor sensory capabilities. They cannot see in ultraviolet or infrared spectrums, their auditory range is limited, they lack any natural weapons beyond blunt teeth and weak claws they call fingernails. Security Chief Drasmore Tech, a hulking Rycan with armored skin and twin tusks protruding from his lower jaw, snorted. They look like larvae. Soft. Vulnerable. My security teams could subjugate their largest city in under one rotation cycle. The only curious thing, Nix added with a puzzled expression, is their entertainment media. Our cultural analysts find it perplexing. Humans create fictional scenarios where they defeat vastly superior forces through what they call ingenuity and determination. They seem to have a psychological fixation on overcoming impossible odds. Commander VX waved a dismissive hand. Psychological compensation. The fantasies of a species that knows its limitations, perhaps. Nix said, though they have an unusual history of intraspecies conflict they call war, and they've been remarkably creative in developing technologies specifically designed to kill each other. Kel laughed again. So they're good at killing the only enemy that matches their pathetic capabilities, themselves. Not exactly threatening to the Alliance. Precisely, VX agreed, turning away from the view screen. Begin preparations for initial contact. Standard protocol, overwhelming display of technological superiority followed by demands for surrender and resource allocation. The Council expects this world to be processing raw materials for our central planets within 3 cycles. And if they resist, asked Dries, almost hopefully. Commander V's 4 eyes blinked in perfect synchronization, a rare expression of complete certainty among his kind. Then we will give them a brief educational lesson in galactic reality before we take what we want anyway. Schedule the first demonstration of force over their northern hemisphere in 12 hours. Target one of their smaller population centers, something expendable. As you command, Draz replied, already selecting targets on his tactical display. None of them noticed the small alert on Science Officer Nix's data pad, an addendum to the human psychological profile flagged as potentially significant, but ultimately dismissed as irrelevant. Warning: species demonstrates extreme behavioral changes when threatened. Recommend caution in initial approach. The Galactic Alliance warship, Inevitable Dominance, hovered over Ottawa, Canada, a city deemed strategically insignificant by Commander V's tactical team. Perfect. Broadcast on all their communication frequencies, VX ordered, straightening his ceremonial collar. Let them hear the voice of their new masters. Communications Officer Telzan nodded, her six-fingered hands dancing across the control panel. Broadcasting now, Commander. VX cleared his throat. People of Earth, I am Commander VX Thlorian of the Galactic Alliance. Your planet has been selected for resource extraction and scientific study. Resistance is futile and unnecessary. Surrender now, and we will allow you to continue existing under our benevolent guidance. The bridge crew exchanged amused glances. This speech, or variations of it, had been delivered to 17 other primitive worlds. The response was always the same: panic, followed by pitiful attempts at resistance, followed by surrender. Sir, Tel reported, we're receiving thousands of transmissions from their governments and military installations. They appear to be conferring with each other. How quaint, V said with a dismissive wave. Give them 30 minutes to absorb the reality of their situation, then proceed with the demonstration. Precisely 30 minutes later, Draz activated the ship's primary weapon system, a gravitic pulse designed to flatten a 5 km radius without leaving radiation, perfect for showing power while preserving resources. Target locked on their Parliament Hill, Commander. Fire. A silent pulse of invisible energy shot downward. Buildings crumpled like paper toys. The shock wave rippled outward, shattering windows for miles. Within seconds, the heart of Ottawa was a flattened wasteland. Demonstration complete, Draz reported with professional detachment. Estimated casualties, approximately 12,000 humans. Excellent, VX nodded. Now we wait for their. Sir. Ta shouted, her normal composure shattered. Multiple launches detected. The humans are firing primitive nuclear-tipped missiles at us. Draz blinked in surprise. Activate defensive shields. Those can't possibly harm us, but let's not take chances with radioactive debris. The missiles detonated harmlessly against the ship's energy barrier, creating spectacular explosions that briefly outshone the sun. Sir, Krell reported, checking his sensors, our shields held at 99.8% efficiency. Their weapons are, he paused. Incoming. A different type of projectile, faster, smaller. Streaks shot toward the ship. What is that? Draz demanded. Analyzing, Nyx replied, her fingers flying across her console. It appears to be tungsten rods. Purely kinetic weapons. No explosives. The rods slammed into the ship's shields, causing the entire vessel to shudder. Shield efficiency down to 95%, Krell reported, his voice betraying surprise. They actually affected our defenses. Impossible, VX muttered. How did they? Sir. TAA interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's being broadcast on our own frequency. They've already deciphered our communication protocols. Put it through, VX ordered, his mandibles clicking nervously. A human female appeared on screen. Her expression was not one of fear but of cold, calculated fury. This is General Elena Martinez of Earth United Defense. You just made the biggest mistake in your species' history. That was the diplomatic district of a peaceful nation. You have 72 hours to leave our solar system, or we will show you what humans do to threats. And trust me, her lips curled into what humans called a smile but contained no warmth, we've been practicing on each other for thousands of years. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Commander, Nyx said quietly, I think we may have miscalculated initial human response. Commander VX paced the bridge, his claws clicking against the polished floor. The tactical display showed a planet in upheaval, but not the kind he expected. "This makes no sense," he muttered. "Where's the panic? The mass evacuations? The surrender negotiations?" The data flowing in painted a baffling picture. Within hours of the Ottawa attack, Earth's previously divided nations had formed a unified defense coalition. Military resources were being pooled. Scientists from rival countries were sharing research. Production facilities were being converted to war manufacturing at unprecedented speed. "Sir," Nix reported, "their global communication networks are buzzing with activity. They've created a unified command structure that bypasses their previous political divisions. It's remarkable adaptation." Krell snorted. "So they're organizing. What can they possibly do against our technology?" His question was answered when alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple small craft approaching. Security Chief Draz shouted. "They're using their lunar base as a launch point. Hundreds of vessels closing fast." On the tactical display, swarms of human spacecraft emerged from the dark side of Earth's moon. They were crude by Alliance standards, clearly retrofitted from civilian designs or hastily assembled from military prototypes, but there were so many. "Their propulsion systems are unusual," Nix noted with professional curiosity. "They appear to have modified their primitive fusion drives to emit minimal thermal signatures. That's why our long-range sensors didn't detect the buildup." "Destroy them," Draz ordered. "All of them." The inevitable dominance's weapon systems activated, lancing out with precise energy beams. Human ships exploded in silent bursts of light, but for each one destroyed, 3 more appeared, following erratic, unpredictable flight patterns that made targeting difficult. "Sir, they're using their destroyed vessels as cover." Draz realized too late. The debris, a massive explosion, rocked the flagship as a human vessel, already crippled, deliberately crashed into their shield perimeter at maximum velocity. "Kamikaze tactics," Nix whispered. "Referenced in their historical military records. They're sacrificing pilots to test our defenses." "Shields at 82%, Krell reported tensely. "These primitives shouldn't be able to." "Sir." TAA interrupted. "Priority communication from the Alliance Command. 3 of our supply vessels approaching from the Arcturus system have been destroyed. Humans have somehow deployed long-range weapons beyond their planet's orbit." VX's 4 eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible. They have no interstellar capability." "Analysis suggests," Nix said quietly, "they've reverse-engineered aspects of our propulsion technology simply by analyzing our ship's energy signature during approach. They've adapted their existing missile systems accordingly." On the view screens, news feeds from Earth showed humans rallying worldwide. In Times Square, crowds cheered as military recruitment centers overflowed. In Beijing, factory workers doubled shifts to produce new weapons. In Moscow, scientists worked feverishly on captured alien technology. In Lagos, hospitals organized blood drives while civilians built shelters. But most disturbing were the human faces. There was fear, yes, but overshadowing it was something VX had never seen when conquering other worlds, a fierce, almost predatory enthusiasm. "They're not just defending themselves," Draz observed, watching a human news broadcast showing civilians volunteering en masse. "They're enjoying this. That planet just unified overnight." "Not just unified," Nix corrected, her voice hollow as she analyzed human communications. "Their most common shared message across all channels is simply, finally, a reason to get really nasty." The alien realization. 3 days into what was supposed to be a routine conquest, Commander VX called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. The mood on the bridge had shifted from confident superiority to uneasy confusion. "Explain," VX demanded, slamming his clawed hand on the conference table. "How are these primitives not only resisting but adapting?" Science Officer Nix hesitantly activated a holographic display. Commander, I've been analyzing their historical and cultural records more thoroughly. I believe we severely misunderstood this species. The display showed montages of human warfare through the centuries, from ancient armies clashing with swords to modern conflicts with tanks and aircraft. Humans have spent their entire evolutionary history fighting, NXS explained. Not just other species on their planet, but primarily themselves. They've had over 15,000 wars in their recorded history. Their most peaceful century still saw conflicts that killed millions. So they're violent, Draz shrugged. Many primitive species are. No, you don't understand, Nyx continued, her voice trembling slightly. War isn't just something humans do, it's something they perfect. Each conflict drove technological innovation. They went from first flight to nuclear weapons in just 42 years, from basic computing to AI in less than a century. The hologram shifted to show human scientific achievements. Their scientific method is built around failure, Nyx said. They try things knowing most attempts will fail. It's madness by our standards. We develop technologies carefully, methodically. Humans throw 1,000 ideas at the wall, see what sticks, then immediately improve upon it. Draz's mandibles clicked nervously. What are you saying? I'm saying, Nyx replied, that in the 3 days since our attack, they've analyzed every piece of our technology they could access from debris, radiation signals, and begun adapting it. They're not just fighting us, they're learning from us at a pace that defies comprehension. The hologram shifted again, showing intercepted human communications. Their cultural response is even more alarming, Nyx continued. Listen to these broadcast fragments. The room filled with human voices. Been preparing for this my whole life. Every alien movie, every video game. Always knew we weren't alone. Now we get to show these space bastards humanity's greatest hits. Grandpa fought Nazis, Dad fought in Desert Storm, now I get to fight actual aliens. Ta looked puzzled. They sound excited. Exactly, Nyx nodded gravely. Their fiction, which we dismissed as fantasy, has been preparing them psychologically for this scenario for over a century. They've imagined this conflict thousands of times. While other species we've conquered responded with shock and terror, humans are responding with familiarity. Many seem to welcome the challenge. The final hologram showed a human military briefing where a commander told his troops, "Ladies and gentlemen, everything we've ever done has been practiced for this moment. Humanity finally has a common enemy, and God help those poor alien bastards." There's more, NX added quietly. Analysis of their neural patterns reveals something unique. When threatened, humans experience biochemical reactions that should induce paralysis from fear. Instead, many of them enter a state they call hyperfocus or battle clarity. Their cognitive functions actually improve under threat conditions. Draz stared at the data in horror. They're not just warriors, he whispered. They're evolved for warfare. Worse, Nyx concluded. They enjoy it. They've been looking for a worthy opponent for centuries, and we just volunteered. Multiple breaches detected in sectors 3 through 7. Lieutenant Krell shouted over the blaring alarms. How did they even get aboard? Commander VX gripped his command chair as the inevitable dominance shuddered under yet another impact. The past 12 hours had transformed his routine conquest into a nightmare. Report, he demanded, struggling to maintain authority as chaos erupted across the ship. Security Chief DRZ's voice came through the comm system, punctuated by the unmistakable sound of weapon fire. Humans. They used our own shuttle bay protocols against us, captured one of our scout vessels, replicated our identification signals, and, the communication cut off abruptly. Draz? They're AZ. VX shouted. Nyx's data pad chimed with an incoming analysis. Her eyes widened in horror. Commander, they've deployed some kind of chemical agent throughout the lower decks. It's melting our troops. Melting? VX repeated, mandibles clicking in agitation. That's barbaric. What kind of species would? Sir. TAA interrupted. Incoming transmission from the human strike team. The main view screen activated to show a human male in black tactical gear, his face partially covered by a breathing apparatus. Behind him, VX could see Alliance crew members writhing on the floor as their exoskeletons dissolved. "Hello, Commander," the human said casually, removing his mask to reveal a grinning face. "Colonel Jack Reeves, Earth Special Forces. Hope you don't mind us dropping in unannounced. Just wanted to let you know we've studied your ship schematics. Fascinating design, putting the primary life support systems on the lower decks. Very efficient. Very vulnerable. You dare." Draz sputtered. "We have vastly superior technology." "Yeah, we noticed," Reeves interrupted, holding up what appeared to be an Alliance neural disruptor. "Nice toys. We've been reverse engineering them. Turns out they work really well once we amplify the output by about 300%. Your troops' nervous systems just can't handle it. Bit messy, but effective." In the background, Alliance security forces charged into view. Without turning around, Reeves nodded to someone off-screen. A deafening explosion followed, and the charging troops disappeared in a flash of light. "Oh, and we repurposed your energy converters into improvised explosives," Reeves added with a shrug. "Your own technology turned against you. Ironic, isn't it?" On the bridge, tactical displays showed human forces advancing through multiple decks simultaneously. They weren't just fighting, they were hunting. "Sir," Krell reported, voice shaking, "they're targeting command staff specifically. They're using our own internal tracking systems to locate senior officers." "What?" Nick stared at her monitors in disbelief. "They've hacked our ship's translation matrix. They're speaking perfect ZTH carry to confuse our troops and issue false commands. Your species is remarkably adaptable, Commander," Reeves continued on screen. "But here's something you should understand about humans: we don't just adapt, we weaponize everything. Your communication protocols. Now they're delivering viruses to your systems. Your medical bay. We've reprogrammed it to identify Alliance DNA as pathogens. Your nutritional synthesizers. Currently pumping your air supply full of subtle hallucinogens that your biology can't filter." A massive explosion rocked the ship, throwing crew members to the floor. "Oh, and that was your secondary reactor," Reeves noted casually. "We decided it would make a nice diversion while we take over your primary weapons control." "This is insanity," VX shouted. "You're damaging technology you can't possibly understand. You'll destroy yourselves along with us." Reeves laughed, a sound that sent chills through VX's exoskeleton. "You still don't get it, do you? Humans have been practicing asymmetric warfare for centuries. When we can't match an enemy's strength, we find creative ways to use their strength against them. You brought a superior arsenal to our planet, and now, well, now it's our arsenal." The ship rocked with another explosion. "Your shield generators will fail in approximately 6 minutes, Reeves continued, checking what appeared to be an Alliance engineering tablet he'd repurposed. "Then your ship will be vulnerable to our little surprise. We've positioned 300 nuclear warheads in a sphere around your vessel. Old technology, sure, but we figured quantity has a quality all its own." Drax's 4 eyes blinked in panic sequence. "You would sacrifice your own boarding teams? Your own people?" For the first time, Reeves' grin faded, replaced by something colder and more terrifying. "Commander, humanity just watched you flatten one of our cities. There are thousands of volunteers willing to die to take you down. But here's the kicker, we don't plan to die. While your crew's been busy dealing with our frontal assault, our real operation has been elsewhere." The camera panned to show humans in engineering uniforms working at Alliance control stations. We're not just attacking your ship, Reese explained. We're taking it. Every system, every weapon, every piece of technology you so arrogantly brought to our doorstep. By this time tomorrow, we'll be replicating it all. The day after that, improving it. As if to emphasize his point, the lights on the bridge flickered, then changed from the Alliance's standard blue to an aggressive red. Sir, TAA whispered, they've taken control of life support. Colonel Reeves smiled again. Now, Commander, shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? The final stand. 3 weeks after the initial attack on Ottawa, the Galactic Alliance fleet hung in disarray above Earth's orbit. What had begun as a standard conquest mission with 15 warships had devolved into a desperate struggle for survival. Commander VX, now operating from the Auxiliary Command Center of the damaged flagship, stared at the tactical display with all 4 eyes wide in disbelief. 8 Alliance vessels had been completely destroyed. 3 more had been captured intact. The remaining 4, including the inevitable Dominance, were surrounded by a swarm of retrofitted human vessels, some Alliance designs, others cobbled together from Earth technologies but enhanced with salvaged alien tech. We need to retreat, Draz said, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. Order all remaining ships to prepare for emergency quantum jump. Sir, Tel replied, her normally smooth voice now trembling, the humans have deployed some kind of disruption field. Our quantum drive can't establish a stable matrix. What? That's impossible. They couldn't possibly understand quantum mechanics at that level in just 3 weeks. Nix looked up from her data pad, her eyes hollow. They didn't need to fully understand it, Commander. They simply observed how our systems operated, identified the quantum field generators, then created devices that produce opposing wave patterns. Crude but effective, like jamming old radio signals, but on a quantum level. Sir! Lieutenant Krell shouted. Multiple launches detected from Earth's surface. They're using our own weapons against us. The view screen showed the horrifying sight of Alliance energy weapons, clearly salvaged from destroyed ships, now mounted on human launch platforms. Beams of concentrated energy sliced through space, cutting into the remaining Alliance vessels with surgical precision. How? Drax whispered. Those weapons require rare elements not found on Earth. They're not using our power sources, Nix explained, analyzing the data. They've adapted the weapon designs to work with their nuclear fusion technology. Less efficient, shorter range, but clearly effective enough. The ship rocked violently as another impact struck the hull. Commander, Tar reported, we're receiving a transmission from Earth's Unified Defense Command. Put it through, VX said wearily. General Elena Martinez appeared on screen, flanked by military officers from various Earth nations. Behind them stood a team of scientists examining what appeared to be Alliance technology. Commander VX, Martinez began, her voice cold but controlled, your remaining ships are surrounded, and your quantum drives disabled. Your options are now limited to 2, surrender or destruction. You have 5 minutes to decide. Draz's mandibles clicked in desperate defiance. You may have surprised us, human, but the Galactic Alliance spans thousands of worlds. When our fleet fails to report back, they will send more ships. Hundreds more. You cannot hope to. Actually, Martinez interrupted, we're counting on that.